Am I the a-hole for not hiring back my recently turned vegan chef who quit in a fit of rage after he refused to cook meat and blames it on a mental health crisis? My wife and I own a restaurant, and our specialty is our variety of locally sourced meats. Recently, our head chef has come out as vegan. We were very supportive of him, and even started buying vegan foods for him to eat at work. Last week, he informed us that he couldn't work with meat anymore because it conflicted with his values. Although this was an inconvenience because he was the head chef, we were understanding and decided that we would assign other chefs to work with the meat. Then last Sunday, he told us he no longer would be ordering meat from our suppliers, didn't want to see or smell meat around him, refused to work on preparing the menu for the fall, and other duties that are directly related to his title as head chef, and that he just didn't feel comfortable working in an establishment where meat was served. When asked what solution he proposed, he said we had to stop serving meat. We told him that wasn't going to happen. We had already tried to accommodate him, but this was unreasonable. He then gave us an ultimatum. We either become a vegan restaurant or he quits. I told him he was getting worked up and suggested he sleeps on it before he says or does something in the heat of the moment and regrets it later. He said he didn't have anything to think about and quit on the spot because we are a couple of murderers who profit off the torture and suffering of animals, and he was disgusted at us, and we're a pair of C-words, etc. He said a bunch of nasty things, and even as he was walking out the door, he kept yelling, in front of the customers, about how we and everybody who works here have no morals or empathy, and all we care about is money, and he wished we were cooked alive. Then yesterday, my phone starts ringing, and it was him wanting to apologize for his behavior and ask for his job back. I told him not gonna happen. He had disrespected and insulted my wife and me in front of our team, disrespected and insulted our entire staff, and caused a scene in front of the customers. Absolutely unacceptable behavior. Sorry, but no, you can't have your job back. He said he was having a mental health crisis, that's why he acted out. I'm sorry, but that's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. You just don't drop that sentence and expect me to act as if nothing happened. Actions have consequences. To throw that sentence there as if those were the magic words that made all problems go away. After talking about the situation with some friends and family, a lot of them are telling me I'm an a-hole because if the man has a mental health issue that caused him to act out, then I must hire him back and get him help. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You attempted to give this person every single accommodation you could think of. You told them to take a breath and sleep on his decision before doing anything drastic. In my mind, you already went above and beyond to accommodate this person. So you don't set yourself on fire just to keep this guy warm. Most likely what happened is that you realized there really aren't many, if any, opportunities for strictly vegan chefs in your area. And when the reality of not having a job hit him, he came begging. The thing is though, hiring him back would be risky. What if he decides to purposely destroy a shipment of expensive meats? What if he stops putting meat in certain dishes resulting in you having to compromise meals? What if he decides to tell your staff and your customers that he wishes you would all be cooked alive again? Quitting for moral reasons is one thing. Quitting the way he did? Making outlandish demands? And wishing that everyone in your restaurant makes him unfit for employment, regardless of his mental health status. And if he gets his stuff together and comes back later on down the line, apologizes, tells you how he's in therapy or on medication, etc., then maybe you could consider hiring him back. But until then, you have to do what is best for your employees and your family, not an a-hole. A head chef in a restaurant that specializes in meat dishes that decided he wasn't going to cook meat anymore should have lost his job right there. Yeah, what this guy did is like if an NBA player said he was no longer going to shoot the ball no matter how open it was. Not an a-hole. You're correct that mental health crisis is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. If your chef had come to you and asked for time off to deal with issues and you said no, you would be the a-hole. Instead, he cursed you and your wife in front of staff and customers, and he walked out without notice, leaving you in a bind. He quit, but he deserved to be fired. That's how I feel. This is someone who has worked with me for 6 years. I know him very well. Fair enough that if he actually has mental health issues, he maybe wanted to keep it private, but he never mentioned anything in the past. It felt more like exactly that, a get-out-of-jail-free card, like he was expecting to say the words and I would hire him back. He has seen in the past how other employees have had mental health issues or difficult personal situations, and we have gone above and beyond to accommodate them. He knows if he had mental health issues, he could come talk to us and we would have worked something out. But to behave like an A and then just say, "Oh, but I was having a mental health crisis." And now I'm being told I must hire him back, otherwise I'm discriminating. He quit, and he disrespected my entire staff and made a scene. Can't be my best friend, but if you behave like that, in a way that can also affect my reputation in business, then I don't want you in my team. Not today, Hall. You can be sympathetic to his mental health and not hire him back. You didn't mention if he said he was actually getting help for his mental health, which would be key for me to even slightly considering bringing him back. Probably still would not, as he would probably still have the same opinion about cooking/serving meat. I did ask if he has a therapist or somewhere to turn for help. I've struggled with depression for years, and I was more than happy to recommend my own therapist or work with him to find him one he would click with. He said he didn't have one, and didn't really need to talk to anyone. Again, if this is true, sorry that you're going through it, but not my job to hold your hand and walk you to the therapist's office myself. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for publicly posting a message from my brother's landlord? So I, 26 male, am a twin. My brother and I had a very rough childhood, and it took a horrible toll on him. He ended up with a really debilitating mental illness, and has suffered from substance dependency since we were in our teens. I love my brother so much, and I've always done my very best to be there for him. But if any of you have had a loved one with these issues, you know how hard it can be. 2 weeks ago, he passed away from an overdose. It broke me honestly. Despite everything, he was my best friend in the world, and I feel like a spare part without him. My brother lived by himself in a flat, which is where he passed away. I won't get too detailed, but it was a few days before he was found, so there was some cleanup required in the flat. I guess he was in rent arrears too, because yesterday, 3 days after my brother's funeral, his landlord reached out to me via Messenger. He said, and I quote, "Hi, Opie. I'd once again like to tell you how sorry I am for your tragic loss. I cannot imagine how you feel having lost your brother. I know you were his only next of kin, so I just like to get the feelers out vis-a-vis a monetary issue. Your brother was quite behind on his rent and owed £1,500. With the cleanup I paid for following the incident, the total comes to £1,550. As you're the sole inheritor of his estate, I'd like to negotiate with you how we're going to go about reimbursing this payment. I understand this is a large sum, so I'm willing to work out a monthly plan if that works best for you." Honestly, I kind of flipped. My brother hasn't even been dead a month, hasn't even been in the ground for a week, and I'm very, very much still grieving. I haven't even really processed that he's gone. I can't really believe that this guy thinks it's appropriate to start bugging me for money so soon. I went on a huge rant to my husband about it, and ended up not responding to the message but screenshotting it and posting it to Facebook. Several of my friends agreed that this guy was totally over the line, but he messaged me later absolutely furious that I was trying to ruin his livelihood and lambasting him for doing his job. We ended up having a bit of an argument where nothing really got resolved. Was I out of line here? Was I justified? Edit. Something I've realized was unclear. The cleanup landlord paid for was not the biohazard cleanup. My husband and I paid for that. However, the landlord paid for an ordinary domestic cleaning service to come in afterwards, and after my brother's stuff was collected. This is the cleaning cost he referred to. Something coming up a lot, so I'll put it here. This dude owns at least 5 properties currently, and has been a landlord for at least 25 years, per his own website and social media. I highly doubt my brother's the first tenant death he has ever dealt with. Not today, Hall. It always baffled me how people think the next of kin is somehow responsible for the deaths of the dead. He didn't say next of kin was responsible. He said, and is right, that the estate is responsible. The landlord tried to intentionally muddy the waters by both talking about the estate and also a monthly payment plan. There is no such thing as a monthly payment plan with an estate. Either the estate has the money or it doesn't. But the monthly part was what mostly upset me, to be honest, because that's him pretty much directly admitting he's expecting me to pay out of pocket. Not today, Hall. He should go through the proper channels as a debt would as per of the estate. If your brother has no money in the estate and the laws don't require the family to pay him, he's out of options other than guilting you to pay him. See, this is kind of what husband said. He works in a law firm, though this isn't his area. and suspects landlord messaged me directly because he has no legal remit to claim this for me. You're the a-hole. I'm really, really sorry for what you've been through, but I think publicly posting this message was wrong. The landlord needs to make a living, especially at a time when people are struggling financially. And as miserable as this has been for you, you do have to be prepared to tie up loose ends. The landlord waited 2 weeks and phrased his request as tactfully as he could under the circumstances. If you felt it was too soon for you to deal with us, you could have simply told him that instead of exposing him to public ridicule. Once again, I'm so sorry about all you've been through, and I'm sorry to call you an a-hole. It really does just mean I think you're technically in the wrong in this situation. Next story. Am I the a-hole for turning my husband's friend and his girlfriend away when they came to visit? My husband and I have 4 kids. He has a close friend named Mike. He used to visit us regularly with his wife Lillian and their 2 kids. So Lillian and I also became best friends. We'd see her every week at our house, and our children started hanging out together a lot. Lillian and Mike unfortunately got divorced 8 months ago, so no more family visits for Mike. But Lillian and the kids kept visiting weekly. Last Sunday, I invited Lillian and her kids for dinner. My daughters and I prepared favorite kids' meals and did some cleaning as the girls were looking forward to see Lillian and the kids. Well, my husband had Mike come over Sunday morning. Mike said he also wanted to bring his new girlfriend over dinner later on. I apologized and said I was already having guests over. He asked who they were, and I said Lillian. He was taken aback. No idea why, as he knows I'm close to Lillian and invite her over all the time. Then Mike asked me to call Lillian and cancel her visit because he wanted to bring his new girlfriend to come meet me, my husband, and kids. I told him sorry, but I can't cancel dinner. Mike reminded me that his girlfriend is his family. And since he's my husband's friend, then I should be welcoming her to my home and get to know her and let her get to know the kids. But the conversation got nowhere, and my plans for the evening were assumed. Lillian came with the kids, and then the door rang while we were eating, and it was Mike and his girlfriend. My husband opened the door, but I followed and refused to let Mike in, and told him I was already having guests. But he demanded that I tell Lillian to leave, since she had her chances of visiting but his girlfriend never did. I argued with him and said he doesn't get to dictate who is welcome to my house and who isn't, and told him to please leave and not interrupt dinner for my guests. He left after causing a scene. Now my husband said I should have handled it better, and I had no right to treat his friend's soon-to-be fiancée that way, since she's family who wants to maintain good relationship with his friend. He called me judgmental and rude towards his friend, and should apologize because I will cost him a 15 years friendship with Mike. Mike was upset and claimed I was ganging up with Lillian to spite him, but I care about my friendship with her. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hall. I'm having a hard time imagining people like Mike can exist. Not today, Hall. I'm not surprised at all. Reddit has molded me to darkness of crazy. OP he only pushed so hard because he wanted to spite the ex for his new. I think Mike is gonna get dumped. Imagine showing up at someone's door for dinner, and then realizing your boyfriend has already been told you aren't welcome there at this time, and then boyfriend starts demanding the hosts kick out their guests? Oof, I'd run so fast. Not today, LOB. Mike is an entitled A. And then to realize the guest your boyfriend is trying to have removed from someone else's home are his ex-wife and his children, who he already knew were going to be there. I'm just imagining the poor girlfriend standing there all dressed up, maybe even with a bottle of wine or a casserole dish in her hands, wondering what in the living hell is going on, and then putting 2 and 2 together. I'd be mortified. I hope she dumped his butt. Well, now we all know why Lillian left him. The sheer entitlement of that a-hole is astounding. It's your home, and he doesn't get to tell you who you can or can't invite into it. Nonetheless trying to demand who can or can't be friends with. Holy crap. Not today, Hole. Edit. Just got to the last paragraph and I am now super pissed at your husband too. His friend acted like a total jerk, and he expected you to apologize? Let's stamp his forehead with a-hole while we're at it. He should be supporting the prior plans and offering another night for dinner with Mike. You guys can be totally excited to meet his new girl on a night where you didn't have prior plans. If this has been a dance recital or another activity not involving Lillian, I doubt this would have even been an issue. I would bet $100 that Opie's husband told Mike his ex was coming over that night. Then Mike decided that it would be a good idea to flex the fact that he has a new girlfriend in front of his ex. He also wanted to prove that Opie and husband value him over his ex. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for firing a person who is just trying to make a living? I, 30 male, a general manager at a big box retailer, think Walmart, Target, Best Buy, and have been for about a year, though I've worked here total 5 years. I've had this employee who has been great. I'll call her Sam. Hard worker, been with the store for 3 years. But recently she's joined some sort of MLM. Don't remember the exact one. Something like Tirado? I don't know, some essential oils company. Anyways, I've been getting complaints from customers and other employees, saying that she's been pushing her oils while helping and talking to them. I had to talk with her about it. She apologized and said she wouldn't do it again. That was about a month and 3 weeks ago. The complaints haven't stopped, so I talked with the store manager, Big Boss, and last week we let her go. Well, since then, other employees have complained to me that it wasn't right, that she was just trying to make a living. While I understand that, it's strictly against our policy to run a side business while you're working, and to my knowledge, it's the way with most stores. Plus, we sell essential oils too, so by doing this, she's directly interfering with our business. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was going under your nose and running a business in your business. Also, I believe the company you're thinking of is doTERRA, one of the most predatory companies, second only to Young Living. You don't want to associate with them, so glad you got that crap out of your store. Not only that, but their products are garbage, and they advise people to consume their essential oils, which is never advisable, according to the FDA, CDC, the Mayo Clinic. Not the a-hole. Her selling her products would hurt your store if it bothers the customers. She was very unprofessional. I doubt she cared about being professional, and likely was just using the job as a way to increase the number of potential customers she was exposed to. She was hurting everyone else who worked there, and was given ample warning. A lot of places would have fired her on the spot at first offense. Definitely not. It's store policy. You wouldn't allow solicitors into the store to do it. And that's exactly what she was doing.